My father's family was from Casa de Golfo, and my mother's family was from Mount Etna. I grew up in Corona. So in Corona, Queens, almost all of my friends were Italian.
Uh-huh.
I had one Greek friend, and I used to feel bad for him because he was Greek. and I think the first black person that I saw was my 6th grade teacher. My parents went out of their way to ensure that I didn't learn Italian. My mother would say this all the time. You need to speak English. You need to speak English. You need to speak English. My mother and my father, when they started school, could only speak Italian. And both of them graduated from high school. So back then, that was not a common thing, especially for my mother. My first job was in the local grocery. Okay. So I started to work when I was 15. So I started in the grocery store. When I was 17, I worked, and this was only 2 blocks away, I worked in the local drugstore. And then maybe a year and a half later, I worked in the local bank. Now, when I got in the bank, it was obvious to me that I could do what it was that they wanted me to do. And I happened to be the person that they literally found very convenient and easy to train. So I happened to be likable, and I happened to be capable of doing many different tasks in the banking operation. So because people are sick and people are on vacation and whatever, I was the utility person. I could work anywhere in the bank. And the manager wasn't Italian who worked in the bank. But the overwhelming customers of the bank were Italian. I'd say since banking is a service business, Italians are very suited for a service business. But there are many service businesses that are not banking. There are successful people in all careers. I don't know that banking is more prone to being an Italian business than not. Giannini is an important person who happened to be Italian, who happened to be successful in banking. I don't think that we can correlate that because he was Italian, he had the ability to be successful. He had values that may have been encouraged by his Italian family, his Italian background. So Italian Americans are comfortable helping other people deal with their financial issues and many other things. So Italian Americans or Italians are people that actually like people, and they are comfortable doing good things for others that don't have to be Italian. The first time I ever saw prejudice was by the time I got to high school. There were other people that didn't come from Corona in high school. That's the first time I saw prejudice. When I got into the military, I saw even more prejudice. Yeah, being an Italian in the larger population of the United States was not the same as being Italian in a very isolated community that was all Italian. So I grew up thinking that everybody was Italian. I grew up thinking that Italians were overwhelmingly the best of everything. Now, I didn't have the awareness that there were plenty of other people that weren't Italian that didn't even like Italians. It surprised me. It surprised me. There's no question that the first time I was exposed to prejudice because I was Italian really surprised me. That the general prejudice of the American populace would not necessarily find an Italian American as acceptable to a large enough number of people. There are no Italian Americans that I'm aware of that had actually attempted to become president and didn't become president because they were Italian American. However, there's a reality that there's a very big difference between being in a service business and being a politician. Politicians don't serve other than themselves. Now that's a dangerous thing for me to say. But Italians have a long history of serving people.